Bam! Welcome to our playlist, Artist Rewind, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artists. And please check us out on Patreon. We have an all access VIP backstage pass that will unlock unedited content. The first Saturday of every month, we are doing our vinyl showdown where you actually, if you're part of the Talking Wax tier in Patreon, you could come on the show with your vinyl records and win records from us. We're just giving it away. That's right. You'll win records from us. Go in the descriptions down below, find all the details out on the good stuff. Now, coming up here on the show, icon, legendary jazz drummer Buddy Rich. His daughter, Cathy Rich, is going to share some stories about her father and how she's keeping his music alive today. You're not going to want to miss this one. All right, everybody, let's get ready. Roll it. Cathy Rich, growing up rich.
I'm Buddy Rich, world famous drummer. When I play a theater, I play the theater.
Hello. How are you?
How you doing? Now, what is this Sammy Davis story? What is this?
Tell him that one, Cathy.
Okay.
I'll let Cathy take over.
My dad's on tour with Sammy in Europe, and I had a boyfriend at the time, blah, blah, blah. And we're riding, we dropped Sammy and my dad off at the hotel, and then we were going to go get dropped at another hotel. And in the course of that limo ride, the boyfriend said something derogatory about my dad. So...
Which I never do.
No, never. So I punched him in the face.
Whoa. No.
You know how that comes when all of a sudden, I mean, it's only happened to me 3 times in my whole life, where you actually are so angry that you go black and you just see nothing, and the anger comes up and you just lash out. 3 times that's happened. I punched him in the face and then I made the limo driver stop. Now he's watching this in the rearview mirror. And I'm literally kicking him out of the car. Open the door, and I'm kicking him with my feet. Get out into the street. Blam. Close the door. He takes me back to Buddy's hotel, where I, remained for the rest of the tour. So that night, I think it was in Paris, and Sammy calls me into the dressing room, and he said, I heard you had a little problem today. And I said, what do you mean? He said, did somebody get a little tough with you? I said, no, I took care of it. And he said, no. He said, do you want him gone? And I said, what do you mean gone? He said, do you want him to disappear?
There you go.
And I said, no, it's just a little argument. It's fine. I don't want him dead. So Sammy said, all you do is say the word, he's gone.
Wow.
Wow.
Your dad, first of all, for people who don't know this, he was a Marine, number one. So that's that, right?
He was.
That's okay.
Yes.
So that in itself, not even being from Brooklyn is tough people, but then a Marine, that's a whole nother level over there. But Sheep said
he wanted to go and fight for his country. I mean, at that point in time, we were proud to be Americans.
Yeah. What was his, your dad as a kid, what was his life all about? Like as a growing up?
Well, he started in vaudeville when he was 2 years old.
So that is true. 2 years old.
2 years old. He was starring on Broadway in the Ziegfeld Follies by the time he was 4 years old. And so he was traveling all around the world at, 5 and 6 years old. He was on a steamer going to Australia when nobody even knew where Australia was at that point. In the 1920s, it was crazy. But he was the second highest paid child star in the world.
Wow. Now,
yes,
I don't know.
Next to Jackie Coogan.
Uncle Fester.
Uncle Fester.
Uncle Fester from Everybody Watching was in the famous The Kid with Charlie Chaplin. That's where he got his...
Exactly. That's where he got it.
Wow. So was your dad's parents, were they about that? We got to get my
they were vaudevillians. They had a song and dance act. And when my grandfather realized that he had this prodigy sitting in his high chair. He made my grandmother go home, and he started managing Buddy's career, and it went from there. I mean, there's some genius that you just can't deny, and he had that, sort of like Mozart
Yeah.
at 3 years old composing. Buddy was doing that with the drums at 3 years old.
Incredible. No
It was
lessons.
incredible.
No lessons. He had.
Nothing.
Wow.
They saw him. The story goes that he was sitting in his high chair in the kitchen in Brooklyn, and the radio was on, and he was tapping with his fork and his spoon, and in perfect time to the music that was on the radio. And so my grandfather kind of hears this, and he changes the station to something else where something else was playing, thinking he would, slip him up, but he plays right along with that. And they just realized that this kid had this innate ability to hear music and play perfect rhythm to it.
Wow.
And that was it.
And then when he switched the radio station for the third time, Buddy smacked him and said, "Put it back on the other tune. I want to play that." And then that was it.
Even then.
Yeah, and then he realized,
He
"Quit
couldn't even
touching the
talk
radio."
yet.
Oh,
Quit
quit
touching the radio.
touching the radio. I want to play this.
Wow. So as a kid, I mean, in Brooklyn,
So he was doing it his whole life, his entire life, from the time he was 2 until the day he left us. He was
How long did-
playing, and that was it.
how long did he live in Brooklyn for?
He moved from Brooklyn probably when he joined. Wow, he lived at the family home until he joined, I think, Tommy Dorsey.
Really?
I think so. So that would have been 1940 something. He was like in his early 20s when he moved to Manhattan. And then he was traveling with the Dorsey band, and they were coming to LA. They were doing Hollywood movies because Dorsey was signed to MGM. So they did all those musicals, and Buddy was in all those musicals at MGM. So it was an incredible life he had.
Tommy Dorsey, was it playing like being in the Marines with Dorsey? What's this situation?
That's what he said.
That's what he said, huh? Did he
Tommy
say that?
ran the band like being in the Marines. Absolutely.
Really?
Tough.
It was tough.
Yes, those guys were tough.
And
then Buddy in later years ran his band like the Marines. So there you go.
So it was almost
circle.
like it was like being with Dorsey. It was almost like he's going. That was his school. These live gigs.
Absolutely. I mean, he was with Artie Shaw, Tommy. These were it was like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones at that point in time.
Yeah.
Those were the two most popular bands in the world. So, to be having played in both of those situations that was it for him. And then he just went on and
he
never
went
stopped.
on. I mean, the career, you think about a guy, never had lessons, 2 years old, banging at the high chair, right? Goes to playing with Sinatra, Artie Shaw, Tommy Dorsey, doing the Buddy Rich big band going on, who made West Side Story. We'll go there after, a whole nother thing. He just rocked that out.
Thing.
And
Absolutely.
A whole other thing he did. I mean,
it's amazing. It really is an unbelievable career that never, most people, you have a good 5 or if you're lucky 10 years of a career. Buddy started when he was 2 and it never faltered. It went his entire life. So that's pretty amazing when you think about it. That you have almost a 70-year career.
It's crazy. The words of Eric Singer, he's the one who said, and he said to me, and I wrote down last night on the phone, we're talking. I go, yeah, I'm having Cathy on. He goes, and he got crazy. Left hand. No one had a left hand like him. He's texting me all the Buddy Rich records that he's showing me, his collection.
Oh, that's so sweet.
All the collections of Buddy right there.
Eric, that's awesome.
And the house in Brooklyn, did you ever go back to Buddy's childhood home? Did you ever take a visit back there?
I never did. I think my cousin has done all that. She's gone back and seen the old house. In later years, my grandfather lived on Ocean Parkway. So I used to go there all the time to visit. But my grandfather never left Brooklyn. He stayed there his whole life.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
So, and did your dad try to get him to leave? Did your dad say, hey,
No, he was happy there. I mean, he moved to Miami for a while and then ended up back in Brooklyn. Everybody migrates to Miami for a while and then comes back to Brooklyn.
Right. They do. Did Buddy have a bar mitzvah?
There's just something about
I got to ask you, did Buddy have a bar mitzvah?
I don't think he did.
No,
I don't think so. No, I don't think he did.
Now,
I'm almost positive.
Now, you don't have to say, but there has to be the one guy that Buddy played with and goes, that guy was such a nuisance, man. If I have to look at this guy again, Anybody like
Greg
that?
Potter. Greg Potter.
I would say he said like the toughest guy that he played with was Tommy
It really
Dorsey.
was. It was.
And during that time, he and Buddy and Frank Sinatra were roommates on that band. So
Wow.
there were fights going on all the time between Tommy and Buddy, Tommy and Frank, Frank and Buddy. I mean, it was just a constant battle going on in that
Buddy was in
band.
the band when Frank showed up. And
But-
how did they introduce each other?
Tommy Dorsey introduces Frank to my dad, and he said, "Frank, I'd like you to meet Buddy, another pain in the ass."
Really?
What was that?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I'd like you to meet Buddy.
Another pain in the ass.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yes.
What a story that is.
Yes, that is
Wow.
the truth.
So there they are. He's singing.
So there
Buddy's
they are.
playing
They're like
drums.
19 and 20 years old. Imagine what that's like.
Right.
Each one thinking they're the star of the band,
But
because
Buddy
Buddy
already
had
was.
been the star of
Yeah.
the band because he had been there for a while. And then here comes Frank thinking, he's a little cocky. He's
And
comes from
and-
another place,
And
Buddy's
giving
comes
it to
from
him.
Jersey.
But that's
so
the thing.
he's
Okay,
got
but
that Jersey attitude.
now, but a guy from Brooklyn, a guy from Jersey, it doesn't. If you guys know the East Coast, and you guys could,
That's right.
Brooklyn thinks they're a lot tougher than Jersey. Am I right, Cathy?
Oh, absolutely.
They do.
Absolutely.
So okay,
Brooklyn
so-
is like it. You're coming over from the other side of the river. You're
Yes.
not that hot.
yeah, Jersey.
Wait,
Jer-
Jersey,
Frank
come
would-
on.
When Frank would walk out, Buddy would do like the
A
marching
marching,
drums,
and and then slow down
Slow
and
down
speed up his
tempos.
tunes when he was
I mean,
singing.
he would jack with poor Frank, and then
Yes.
what happened?
And
Tell
Frank had
what
him beat up.
That's it.
He didn't do
Wait,
it
Frank-
himself.
Wait, hold
He
on.
had him
Hold
beat
on.
up.
Tell me. Wait, so
Oh, yeah.
he would do the drumming. Tell me this. He would do the
Right.
drumming.
So
with
as-
And he would jack with
In-
him all night.
In the middle, like Frank would be singing a ballad,
And Buddy,
and Buddy would start speeding up.
I did that too. But I
And then
didn't know.
if he was singing like a cool, hot number, then he'd start slowing it down. So he was never on a balance. Poor Frank. I mean, he was
Oh,
they ended up being lifelong friends, but
But
imagine
gave
the
it to him.
torment they
And
did to
then
each other.
Buddy's leaving the concert hall, or where are you playing? Somewhere in New York when they.
Somewhere in New York, but it was late at night.
Buddy's walking through the alley, and two guys come behind him.
Are you
"Hey,
Buddy Rich?"
Buddy Rich, and Buddy's, like, yeah,
Yeah.
what do you want me to sign or something, And
They beat him up.
they tuned him up and said, "You're going to take it easy on Frankie. You're going to take it
Take it easy on him. He
And what-
didn't, but
he did. Did he ever say anything to Frank? Hey, Frank, that was a nice thing. You
Oh,
set me
God,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Frank then, Buddy accused him of having his goons, attack him. And they were in the dressing room one night, and there was a big giant water pitcher, glass filled with ice and water. And Frank took the pitcher and threw it, and Buddy ducked. And he said, if I hadn't ducked, I wouldn't be here today, because that thing smashed against the wall and, glass flying everywhere. And there you go.
So they had
Started out as
they-
a rocky relationship.
They had a rocky little
Yeah.
start.
Sinatra had a temper.
Yes.
Buddy had a temper, but they never
Yeah.
actually duked it out themselves. They never did.
No,
They ever.
they never physically fought each other. They probably tried to.
Because Tommy
but,
Dorsey would
you
have
know,
not had it.
Tommy
probably.
would have not had any of it. No.
But then they're sleeping in the same
then
room
they were
together as
roommates.
roommates.
And Buddy said Frank used to drive him crazy because Buddy would be trying to sleep and Frank would be clipping his fingernails.
What? Really?
And he goes, could you stop that? You're driving me insane.
I've been
Oh,
clipping
my-
25 years. She's never told me that. Frank's clipping his fingernails.
Yes.
Oh,
And
my
Bud's
God.
like, hey, dude, can you
Hey,
do
can
that?
you
And
put it away or can you do it in the bathroom or wherever? You're
I-
keeping me up.
Oh, I would have saved the fingernails. I'm so Jewish. I'm selling that. Before
knew?
I know who knew. Oh my
Who
goodness. What was Buddy's in the house? Would he play music in the house as a kid? Would he have like
Yes.
What was his like main things that he would drive the house crazy that he'd always play if he could pick 5 vinyl albums of Buddy Rich?
Funnily enough, he didn't listen to big band music. He listened to singers. He was a huge fan of vocalists. So Frank was always playing in the house. Tony Bennett was always playing in the house. Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Nat King Cole, all the greats. I mean, that's what I grew up on.
Wow.
And then, sort of when the Beatles came around, then, everything changed.
Everything changed, right?
Everything changed. Life
everything-
stopped.
What did Buddy think of the Beatles at that point when he like these guys? Was he into what
Well,
was he
it's-
into it?
I like to think that I educated him. I was a tiny kid, but I was listening to the Beatles at 8 years old, obviously, as we all were. And So I would play him things, and he ended up incorporating some of the things like Norwegian Wood, something. I mean, there are songs that he incorporated into the band that were beautiful pieces of music. So, you couldn't judge the Beatles just by at that point in time what they looked like, or, the Beatlemania and what was going on in the world. You judge them by the songwriting,
Mhm.
because there's no one that comes close to the songwriting of the Beatles. I
No,
mean, we've been sort of on a Beatles tear lately.
how could
And
you not? How
yeah,
could you
I mean,
not?
you go back and listen to that music, and it stands up today like it did 50 years ago.
I
So,
guess when the
I
Beatles
like to
first,
think that
yeah, I guess when they first came out, right? When you have guys like, yeah,
it was
Buddy, the
shocking.
Sinatra, yeah, it's like, oh, these are the new kids in town. They're taking over, and then it's like, okay, this is the new sound, and you're adapting. It was almost like when grunge hit the '90s, like everybody's like adapting, and
Right.
you know what I
Oh,
mean?
you were like,
The
and then you
flannel
got used to
shirts,
it.
the
Right,
flannel shirts
exactly.
are in, and
Yes.
that's
But I think like when the Beatles were first on at Sullivan, or whenever somebody, whenever wherever you were when the Beatles, first hit, it was something that was not only different, shocking, amazing, but nothing like anyone had ever seen before. So it took a minute for that to sort of sink into the culture. And then when
wow.
it did, there was no stopping it.
No stopping it. What was Buddy
No
like at
stopping it.
home? What was he like at home as a father? Was he
Just a normal dad. He wasn't, he was working all the time, so he
yeah.
was gone a lot. So when I wanted to spend time with him, I would go and travel with him during the summers and every school vacation. So I was always on the road. But at home, he was like, do your homework. It's kind of a strict guy, but
He
yet
was.
fair, and never sort of made me feel like I wasn't living up to something. So anything I wanted to do, be it singing, be it dancing, be it horseback riding, whatever it is that I sparked to, he was
Mhm.
always 100% behind. As long as it makes you happy, was his thing. If
Here's
you're
a beautiful.
happy doing it, that's it.
He has a great picture I took from your site, so don't sue me, don't come after me, but I had to share this with everybody.
So
Look,
isn't
look,
that a
look,
great
look,
shot?
look at these pictures of you guys, and then right here, look at this right here.
Yes.
I mean, these are fantastic shots, and look over here, right there.
Oh, look at those
Who,
sweet
Look
looking
at those
people.
two
who's that guy?
sweethearts. I don't know, showing you
Oh,
right here. Look at this picture of you
yeah,
guys.
there you go.
It's a fantastic
Isn't
picture.
that a great shot? I know. Crazy.
What would you say? How old are you in
Unbelievable.
this picture?
Probably
32.
under a year,
Under a year. Look at
under a
that.
year old. Yeah.
So then
Probably like 9 months old.
Oh, look
so
There
at
there
you
you are,
go.
there you go.
That's iconic right there.
right there. You're
As the beat
singing with
goes
your dad,
on.
but look at your dad's
Singing
face,
live for
and
the first time in front of an audience.
that's the first time. And look
That's
at your
another
dad.
story.
Tell me about this story, because
Look at
look
his
at your
face.
dad's face. Yes,
I
he's
know
so
he just couldn't
proud.
believe it. Well, because 10 minutes before that, I was telling him I'm not doing it.
Oh,
And when I finally got
really?
up and did it, well, it's crazy because that song, The Beat Goes On, that I recorded on that album, has followed me throughout my life. You never think of things, when you're a kid. I was 12 years old when in that picture. And he had asked me, he had heard The Beat Goes On the radio. And I was singing along. He had come to pick me up from school, and I was singing it. And he said, why don't you come and sing that with the band? We're doing an album in a couple of weeks in LA, and why don't you come and sing it? And I was like, okay. It just seemed like, okay, that's fun, because I'd always been singing in school, in the choir, in the chorus, whatever. So I go to LA, and we're in the car. Now, mind you, no rehearsing, no anything. You just got up and did it. So we pull into the parking lot of a nightclub, and I looked at him and I said, I thought we were recording. He said, we are. We're recording here. It's a live album. I said, we're recording in front of people? I thought we were going to a recording studio where you could, make a mistake if you
Yeah.
did. So he's like, no, we're doing it live in front of a live audience. And I
Wow.
was like, no, I can't, no way, I can't do it. It's not going to happen. So he's like, calm down, we'll be fine. We go into the club. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I should have been in bed. Instead, I'm in a nightclub singing. So I walk in, and the first person I see, right where the vocal mic is, where you see that mic in that picture, sitting right below that, is Judy Garland.
Wow. Wow.
Right
Wow.
there. Yes.
Wow. That's
So
crazy.
it was insane. So I'm like, okay, now you want me to come to a nightclub at night, sing a song I haven't rehearsed with a big band in front of a live audience and Judy Garland sitting right where I'm going to stand. Yep. So I said, absolutely not. There's no way. So here's the real picture of
Wait, can you see that?
Can you see
Let's
this?
that.
Did you
Yes.
see this picture here?
Okay.
Right there. That's her
That's
mink
Judy's
coat right
mink
there.
coat right
And that's
there.
her knee.
Oh,
And that's her knee.
And Buddy's saying, now please get up there and sing. And she's like, I don't want to. And you see that one, like, I really don't like this.
And then I did it.
But yeah, then she went and did it.
that is.
But the cool thing is that I was so nervous that I ran back to the dressing room and I'm like, I can't do it. So Judy then says, bring her out to me. I want to talk to her. So I went and sat with Judy and, she gave me the greatest pep talk in the world. And said, don't ever let anyone intimidate you. If that's what you love and you get out there and do it and do the best you can. And that's it. I was like, okay, great advice.
Wow.
And I did it.
She's terrific. She's cute. She's talented. She's also my daughter. Now, Cathy's going to sing her new hit single, The Beat Goes On. Cathy, baby. Here's Cathy.
Drums keep pounding the rhythm to the brain.
It stuck with
That
you.
was it. And then
That stuck with you,
the
huh?
track. That was the live track, the first take, only take, and it ended up on the record.
What a great story. Now, Greg, did you meet Buddy? Did you ever get a chance to meet Buddy?
Oh, I have a few stories.
But we're going to condense them.
Actually, yes, I met him 2 times in my career. First time when I was a youngster, and then one time when I was a
Oldster.
a
medium-ster.
Yeah, but yeah, I met him like 10 years apart. Met him first time when I was 10, next time when I was 20. First time I got to see him. My dad took me to a nightclub in Chicago.
We both had that in common. Our dads taking us to nightclubs when we were children. That's kind of weird.
Yes, because Cathy's had it too. Like, her dad would take her to see who's the one that he took you on the scooter.
Oh.
And then the woman yelled at him and said, you take that baby home.
We went to see Count Basie in Brooklyn.
There you go.
Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
Dinah Washington.
Yeah.
And Lambert Hendricks and Ross.
There you
Wow.
go.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
yes. So I guess same
I was
kind
like
of
5
thing.
years old, and he put me on the front of a Lambretta and drove me across the Brooklyn Bridge in the rain.
Wow.
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
My dad didn't drive me on a scooter, but he took me to this club. We're going to see Buddy Rich. And at that point, maybe I had seen Buddy on television, but it's nothing like seeing him live. So I got to see Buddy Rich. We got us into this nightclub. So the club was pretty small. And when Buddy was done, he walked off the stage and went up to the men's room, which was like right next to where we were standing up the stairs. So Buddy walks by us. My dad goes, let's follow him. I'm a kid, so I just follow my dad. I didn't realize where we're going, but we end up in the men's room, and there's Buddy standing, taking care of business like you do in the men's room.
Yeah.
My dad taps him on the shoulder. Buddy turns
As
and goes,
he's peeing.
as he's going. And Buddy turns and looks at him like, you idiot. Could you give me a minute? And then like my dad goes, okay.
Sure.
And then, but then, next to my dad is me. You know what I mean? So Buddy turns, he's looking at, but obviously, as it turns out, he's seen this many times, I guess. But so Buddy finishes what he was doing, washes his hands, steps over to us and goes, can I help you guys? Or can I help you? Talking to my dad more so to me.
Yeah.
My dad goes, yeah, my son. And before my dad could even finish, Buddy takes his hand, starts patting me on the head, goes, I know, your son's been a drummer since he's been this tall. So that's, so now my dad is a little bit, at the time I had a little picture of Buddy from a magazine or something that I had cut out. And I said, well, could you sign this for me, please? My dad gives him a pen. The pen doesn't write. So he takes my dad's pen and throws it, puts it on, calls his guy over, with just like this, I'm thinking they're going to throw us out, but no, he takes a pen that did right, wrote Buddy Rich on it. And
that was it.
Your dad was like, he was like Larry David. Greg,
exactly.
Your dad was like Larry David.
My dad was like Goyam, Larry David.
But you keep the legacy of Buddy alive, right?
Absolutely. That was one of the final requests that my dad had of me.
And that was a final request. So before your
Yes.
dad passed away, what was like words spoken to him and all that?
He asked if I would, of course, you never want to think that they're going,
Yeah.
but literally the night before he left us, he sat me down and, he was fine. He was talking. And he said, I'd like you to, if you can, keep the band working, keep the music playing, and do something for young people. Because that was his whole thing, was that, it was always a circle. You always gave into the world what you took out of it. So his thing was, he loved doing things for kids, charities and things that nobody knows about. They think of Buddy and they think of this brash, overbearing guy, but really, he had the biggest heart of anyone you'd ever want to know, and did so many things that were never publicized because he didn't want them to be. But so that was it for me, to try. So we started a scholarship program for kids. We did the memorial concerts every year. And then when Gregg and I, got together, we decided that we were going to try to put the band back out on the road, because that's really what he wanted, was to keep his musicians working and to keep the music heard. So that's really what we've done. And it's unbelievable that there's an audience for it and they love it. And, we've been all over the world, and it's the most gratifying, amazing thing I could ever imagine doing.
And the beat goes on. And the beat goes on.
It must have been so hard for you at that time. Here you are with your dad, and he just to go move forward. How did you get out of the rut and changing your mindset? So, okay, how was life after Buddy?
It's interesting because when you have somebody that's in the public eye as a parent, really your world sort of revolves around them and their schedule and what they're doing and where they're going and, who they're with and gigs and concerts. And, your life is kind of that whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was gone, it was like a vacuum. Your life changes overnight. From everything, for me, because he and I were so close, to literally nothing.
Yeah.
And so I was living in LA at the time, and I moved to New York because I just didn't want any reminders. I just couldn't, handle anything. And I moved to New York, and I literally sat in a closet for a year. Every day I would go in the closet and cry, because that's all I could do. That's all I could muster at that point, because it was so unbelievable to me that he was not there anymore. So, during that period of time, I was thinking, okay, trying to imagine what he had asked me to do, and how am I going to do this? This is the most daunting task that you could ever imagine. How do I do this? So when a year went by, and I spoke to Mr. Mel Torme on the phone, and he said, start like this. Why don't you do a concert for Buddy? And he said, and I'll come and I'll sing and I'll host and I'll do. And I said, okay, that sounds like a plan, but how do I do that? So I had no idea. So he said, call George Wein. George Wein at the time was the producer of the Newport Jazz Festivals. And that later became the JVC Jazz Festivals in New York. So I called George, and he said, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you a Friday night at Carnegie Hall. So it's like,
wow.
So now I'm going to produce a concert that I've never done before, and it's going to be at Carnegie Hall. And it's sold out. We did it, and it sort of started me on my producer career. It was unbelievable.
Wow. So you went from vocalist to producer right then.
Yes, right then. And luckily, because when I'm putting concerts together, I can come out and sing, I can, host, I can do whatever. So it kind of blazed the trail for what we're doing now, which is, hosting and singing and talking. And, it's really a whole evening about, our lives, my life with Buddy, and, before, during, and after. And, it's a fun thing that we do. It's great. We love it.
It's a great thing. And then Gregg coming into with the strong left hand. Who would ever think that the guy that
who would have thought
busting, the poor guy's taking a leak, he's busy, and then you're over there with your dad hawking him China, that you'd be part of this legacy. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's how it goes all around, huh? It's a pretty crazy story.
Full circle. You would,
Full
the
circle.
irony here is just beyond.
Right.
Okay, really quick
Seriously.
before we get out of here. All right, because we'll do a part 2.
Kathy, I'll have to tell you how Mel Torme used to call Buddy's their apartment in New York and try to read his reviews to Buddy, and Buddy would hang up on him.
Oh my God.
Like, he would call like Buddy and go, like, "You wouldn't believe how
You wouldn't believe the great
they love
reviews
me in
I got."
Cleveland or something."
Buddy's like, what? Click.
No
He would, like,
way.
his reviews.
Buddy was like, I'm not a fan. I'm your friend. I don't want to hear your reviews.
Like read full reviews over the phone. Buddy would actually like, "Hey, Kathy, like, what happened?"
He's reading me his reviews
His
again.
reviews.
Oh my goodness. We got Xandra right there. More. We got over here. We got Debbie saying these need to come on more. So many fantastic stories. Thank you so much. Donnell
thank
saying
you.
epic show. Thank you, Kathy, Greg, and
I
Stefan.
even have. I've got a personal message from Bermuda Schwartz.
Is he watching?
Yes, he
Hi,
already.
Bermuda
he already
Schwartz.
with us. Yeah, our friend Bermuda plays drums with Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes.
He even
Oh.
wrote me a personal, like a text message here. "Hey, Potter and Kathy, you're doing a wonderful job. So say hello to him." But I didn't realize we got between
quite
Eric
popular.
Singer but Bermuda didn't mention anything about my playing. I would like to have more compliments.
Where can
It's okay.
everybody find all the stuff that you're doing? And I'll put the links in below, but tell them, these good people out there.
You can find everything about us at thebuddyrichband.com. All of the gigs, all of the upcoming, all the things that we've done are all there. Great merch
And a
store.
wonderful page of merchandise. You can even go to
I just said that.
GreggPotter.com and you can get other items that could possibly put me through college. A couple extra bucks. I'm
There
just
you go.
saying,
It doesn't
in case
hurt.
looks like this drumming thing is getting to be a little bit tough. Yeah, it's going to be
The links
The
are going to be
Buddy Rich
all
Band.
down below, right here. We're going to put it
All down
over here.
below. Instagram at Cathy Born Rich and at Gregg Potter Drums.
Gregg Potter drums. Yeah, right.
There you
And
go.
I'm still on the Facebook too.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm on-
Nobody's on Facebook
I'm on
anymore.
Facebook.
What
Yes,
are
I
you?
am.
You're like 90.
Oh, don't
yeah,
get that's a
I
part
got-
3. There's a part 3 now. We're gonna have the Facebook wars
Whoa.
over here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, and we'll be back.
I want to thank Kathy and Greg for hanging out with us this evening. I want to thank you as well. And please check us out next Saturday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, same channel, same time. Until then, everybody, subscribe, hit that bell to be notified when we're coming on. And always remember, it's only rock and roll, and we like it. I'll see you next Saturday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Who loves you, baby? We do. Bam!
Talking wax, alright. Talking wax. Talking wax.
Stop right there. Make sure you sign up in our Patreon for your Talking Wax Backstage Pass, because that will unlock unedited content. And the first Saturday of each month, we are giving away vinyl records. All you need to do is join and be in it to win it. Bring your vinyl on this show and play with us. Okay. And please check out all the other playlists we have here. You might find Gene Simmons. You might find another story. You never know what you're going to find on this channel. We love you. Good night.